Now this might sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's a very real puzzle.
So many people swear they remember this. They saw the news clips. They even remember the funeral.
And this shared false memory? It has a name, the Mandela Effect. Yep, named after this exact event.
But here's the thing. The reality is completely different from what all those people remember. And this isn't just about history. This little memory glitch, it's all over our pop culture.
Okay, let's try a little test on you. Picture the Monopoly man. What does he have on his face?
Did you say a monocle? Well, he doesn't. He never has. Wild, right?
All right, how about this one for all you Pokemon fans? What color is the very tip of Pikachu's tail?
If you said black, you're not alone. But no, it doesn't. Another classic false memory.
Okay, one more. The evil queen in Snow White. What does she actually say to her mirror?
Yeah, believe it or not, that super famous line is actually a misquote. We've all been saying it wrong.
So what's going on here? Parallel universes? A glitch in the Matrix? The real answer is way simpler.
See, the truth isn't out there. It's in here. Your memory doesn't just record things like a camera.
It actually reconstructs memories. And to do that, it uses these mental shortcuts called schemas.
So here's how it works. Your brain pulls up some data, finds the gaps, and then just fills them in.
But why does it do this? Well, your brain is all about efficiency. It wants a clean story, not messy facts.
Think about it. A rich, old-timey tycoon should have a monocle, right? So your brain just adds one in.
And when we all start doing this, it's kind of like a social contagion. The false memory just spreads.
So in the end, the glitch isn't in the universe. It's right here, in the hard drive inside your skull.
Ever noticed how the person who knows the least is often the most confident one in the room? Well, this strange situation actually has a name. It's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Basically, it's when people with very little skill think they're way better than they really are.
Now, this isn't about being dumb. It's about lacking something called metacognition.
This leads us to the peak of what's affectionately known as Mount Stupid.
You learn just a tiny bit, and suddenly your confidence just skyrockets through the roof.
You see, you know just enough to think you've got the entire picture figured out.
So the big question is, why can't they see their own blind spots?
It all comes down to something called the double burden. They're blind to their own blindness.
First, you'll lack the skills. And second, you'll lack the knowledge to even realize you're failing. They literally can't see the gap between their performance and what true excellence looks like.
Okay, so what happens when you start to gain some real expertise? Things change.
Well, you actually slide down into what's called the Valley of Despair.
It's pretty simple, really. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know.
This is the huge difference. The novice is loud and blind, while the expert becomes humble and aware.
So it turns out the mark of a true expert isn't arrogance at all. It's humility.
That loud certainty from the novice, it's not strength, it's just the noise of ignorance.
You know, the Dunning-Kruger effect is really a warning for every single one of us.
So if you're feeling 100% certain about something, it might be time to check your map.
All right, let's set the scene. You're sitting in a job interview, and the candidate, they just look incredible. Well-dressed, charming, with this killer smile.
Before they even say a word, your brain's already decided they're smart, kind, and a great leader.
But wait a second. What proof do you have for any of this? Absolutely none, right?
Well, that mental leap, that's what we call the halo effect. Basically, one good thing, like being attractive, puts a glowing halo over their whole personality. Yeah, it's a type of confirmation bias. Our brain just wants to prove its first impression was right. And you know, the opposite is also true. That's the horn effect, where one bad trait poisons the well. So why on earth does our brain do this? Where does this shortcut even come from? Well, you can thank our ancestors. It's actually an old-school survival tool. See, back then, you had to judge people fast. Friend or foe. Healthy mate or not. So the brain made a simple rule of thumb. If it looks beautiful, it must be good.
But here's the problem. That ancient shortcut, it's pretty dangerous in our modern world.
The data is pretty shocking. Attractive people get paid more and even get lighter prison sentences.
It messes with everything, who we vote for, who we hire, and even who we love.
And you bet people exploit this. It's exactly why a con artist shows up in a fancy suit. And that's the real danger, right? The halo effect totally blinds us.
We're so focused on that one bright spot, we completely miss the shadows lurking just behind it.
We fall for the shiny wrapping paper and forget to even check what's inside the box.
So, it really makes you think, whose halo is blinding you right now?
Okay, quick thought experiment. If you collapsed and needed help, where would you rather be? Busy street or a quiet one?
Now your gut probably says the busy street, right? More people, more help, but psychology tells a very different story.
Yeah, the shocking truth is, you're actually far more likely to get zero help when you're surrounded by people.
This is called the bystander effect. It's a phenomenon where a crowd just watches instead of helping.
So why does this happen? Well, it boils down to two really weird glitches in our social psychology.
First up is what's called diffusion of responsibility. We just assume someone else is going to step up.
Think about it. If you're the only one there, all of that responsibility, it's on you. You have to act.
But when there are 10 witnesses, suddenly you only feel about 10% responsible, and so does everyone else.
We tell ourselves, oh, someone else probably called for help, or someone here is more qualified than me.
The second glitch is called pluralistic ignorance. This is basically a dangerous game of follow the leader, where nobody's leading.
We look around for social cues, but since no one is acting, we all wrongly assume it's not a real emergency.
And look, this isn't just some abstract concept. It's based on some truly tragic real-world events.
In 1964, the murder of Kitty Genovese in New York became the classic, chilling example of this effect.
The initial story was that dozens of her neighbors heard her screams, but they did absolutely nothing.
This one event completely shattered that comforting illusion we all have about safety in numbers.
So, what's the takeaway? Our individual empathy gets watered down in a crowd. So, how do we fight it?
You have to break the spell, single someone out, give them a clear command. Your action can jolt everyone else into helping.
Believe it or not, the answer is yes. And it tells us something wild about our own minds.
So this is what we call the placebo effect, a fake treatment that somehow gives you a very real result.
Okay, so it's super easy to just write this off as being all in your head, right?
But we're not talking about imagination here. We're talking about real, measurable neuroscience. It's a huge difference.
So how does a simple belief actually cause a physical change in your body? Let's get into it.
Well, think of your brain as the most advanced pharmacy on the planet, and it's right inside you.
Basically, when you expect to feel better, your brain starts releasing its own natural painkillers. We're talking about stuff like opioids, your body's own morphine, and that feel-good chemical, dopamine. So get this, your expectation literally becomes the active ingredient.
And what's really wild is that this whole effect can be supercharged by things around us.
Yeah, people call it the theater of medicine. All these little rituals are powerful signals to your brain. It's why we tend to think a bigger pill is going to work better than a smaller one.
Even the color of the pill matters. A red one might feel like a stimulant, a blue one a sedative.
So what's the big takeaway here? It points to something really profound about how our bodies work.
It's this, your mind and your body, they are not separate things. They're one deeply connected system.
So your beliefs aren't just random thoughts, they are literally instructions for your body. Which leads to this amazing idea. Hope isn't just a feeling, it's a drug. So that leaves us with a huge question. If our belief is this powerful, what else is it capable of?
It all started, believe it or not, in a busy restaurant many decades ago.
And the answer reveals something pretty fundamental about how our brains are wired.
This all comes from a psychologist named Bluma Zygarnik, way back in the 1920s. She called it the Zygarnik Effect. Basically, our brains really hate leaving things undone. So what's actually going on in your head? It all starts with something called cognitive tension.
It's like opening a new tab on your computer. Your brain is just itching to close it. But this constant mental nagging, is it actually a good thing or is it bad?
Well, it's the source of late-night anxiety, but it's also an amazing productivity tool.
Yeah, this is why you can't stop thinking about that one email you never sent.
But here's the cool part. You can actually use this. The secret? Just get started.
Just open the document or write one sentence. That's enough to get your brain nagging you to finish.
And it's not just about work. This is the secret ingredient in your favorite TV shows.
Yep, cliffhangers are literally weaponizing the Zygarnik effect against you.
Your brain just has to close that story loop. That's why you binge the next episode.
Turns out, we are basically a species that is completely addicted to closure.
So think about it for a second. What open loops are running in your mind right now?